it didn't work. Wait,
Fresh trim though.
Jeez.
Sharp.
Jeez. How much do you pay for a barber?
Oh, it's extortionate. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I'll tell you after the intro.
After the intro, wait. Let me try and.
WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish that bright future we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions, fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Yes, everyone, and welcome to another TACT-EAGLE. And in fact, we love it so much that we're going to do it twice this week. So we will be covering.
Double dipping.
We are double dipping this week. Everyone loves a double dip, I guess. And we are talking about Newcastle today, and then we will be talking about the Bournemouth game on. We will talk about it on Friday for the Saturday game. But anyways, as always, I'm joined with JC. How are you this fine April Tuesday?
I'm very good. I've had annual leave. So I've had a very relaxing day. And I have done what everyone would be doing on their second day of annual leave. I've played Fallout all day. And I've loved every moment of it.
Which Fallout?
76, a new one. It's not new,
okay.
but
I've not played that, but I do know that they. I do because I swear they released it and like it got panned, but then after a while they kind of fixed it and it's actually like decent now.
Yeah, they released it and everyone clowned it. Because it was awful when it first came out, but they've actually done so many updates. So it's basically a whole new game. Yeah. It's really good now.
Nice, because I normally what I do, right? I'm quite sneaky. I always buy games when they're on, knowing like when I say in the future, like, I'm talking maybe like even like 3-4 years, however long into the future. I always buy it. So I think I managed to get it for like £3 or something because it was like on sale and like. Yeah, maybe it was more like a tenner. Yeah, 76. Maybe it was more like a tenner. But like, I managed to get it for dirt cheap because I think it was on sale and I think it was that time when like people got the ump with it and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what I did. I bought mine off of eBay in COVID and I got it for £2.
Oh, have you got it on a PlayStation? Okay. Yeah. No. Nice.
But I'm not feeling good because I said I'd let you guys know. The trim.
Oh.
The pricing of the trim. The trim is decent. Let's not get it wrong. The fade is sharp, but the trim plus the beard plus the lineup.
Plus the beard?
Yeah.
You don't do the beard yourself?
No, it's long, man.
I need to do my bid. How much?
It's a bit embarrassing, Dan. I don't know whether we should air that kind of financial advice.
Is it more than 40?
Yes.
Really? Oh
42.
My. Wow. The answer to life.
Yeah. Don't get a trim. Learn how to do it your damn self.
I think to be fair,
it was done in Clapham. If that helps.
It all makes sense now.
The good barbers are there, though. That's the problem.
You know what? I know people pardon me for I feel like my haircut has divided opinion this time. Like some people seem to really like it. Some people seem to really not like it.
Does the missus like it? That's the only.
She does.
Person that really matters. Let's be real.
Those lines are annoying me. Wait, Because you know what, and we were talking about this before. I know we haven't actually talked about football at all yet, but I think because I refuse. Normally, every time I've been, they offer me gel to like kind of like I think give it a bit of texture. My problem is my hair goes really flat, so it just looks crap, and I just look like Friar Tuck. And and I think yeah, in the future I won't be doing that because I think that was a secret recipe to make it look decent. But I only pay 18 quid for mine, so. but mine doesn't include a beard because I do that myself. Like, I need to do. I haven't done it for a while. Do. Right. Anyways, as much as I would love to talk about haircuts and fallout for like an hour, we must talk about football. But first, we need to welcome in the comments with our excellent fans. Big up Durfez. I think we need to concede fewer goals than 5, maybe 2, if we are lucky, 0. I think I got sent. I believe. Actually,
I'll put it this way: after we lost 5, conceded 5 against City, we're nowhere near the top of the away conceded goals anymore. I think we're like 7th now, so we don't have that record to hold on to, which is good.
Let's have a look. I mean, overall, we've now conceded 23 goals away from home. Mm-hmm. So effectively, we conceded how many? So
put it this way: I was watching Glasner's press conference actually, and it was actually quite good. So I think that stat there includes our cup games away from home as well. And if you think about it that way, 23 goals all season away from home. Bear in mind, 10 of those are from 2 games. That looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Sorry, I'm an idiot. Sorry, that's our home. Premier League goals. It's 17 in the league. Sorry, away from home. So 17 conceded in 15 games. That's not bad.
You okay?
And as a percentage, that's 29.4% of our away goals were conceded in one game. 29.4.
I think I was watching Glasner's press conference, and he basically said, "I'd rather concede 5 goals in one game than 1 goal in 5 games."
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're losing. I feel like you would lose less points that way, so I do get that. Big up, Monty. Play the kids. We can't afford any injuries. Who cares who wins? So I'm going to talk about this a bit later. Man U set up similarly to us. That is true. I'm big up dog. And they have played City a week before we did and played Newcastle a week before us. Yeah, I did watch their game against United just to kind of see how they set up against us. Play the kids. Nonsense. Big up chairman. Dan's having... So it's meant to autoplay. It's meant to autoplay, but sometimes for whatever reason it just doesn't play, and then we have to do it.
It does it sometimes at the end as well.
Yeah, so sometimes you might just see us like chatting, and then it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, Dog is saying, JC, your barber is called Clapham.
Yes.
Clapham's a place in London, Dog. It's like a neighbourhood.
A neighbourhood.
I guess that's like that would be like the American way of saying it, right?
Yeah. Can't really say it's like an area, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I suppose. Oh yeah, area. There you go. And it's an area of London. Big up Animal, and big up Damo. I'm not too sure what that means, but
sick.
Yeah. Right. Anyways, let's talk injuries. One sec.
Let's see if you can get the right video.
I think I've got the hang of it now. I know that's the first one. It's the next one that's a bit dodgy, but I'm pretty sure I know which one it is.
Anyway, injuries. Let's do it. For us, Glasgow has confirmed in the pre-match. It's nice actually. I got to watch the pre-match before actually doing the TACT-EAGLE, so I got a little bit more up-to-date knowledge as well.
Nice.
We only have 2 injuries: Charlie Riyad and Chet Decore. Everyone else is back. So Matt Turner's back. SA is back from illness. Markin and Ketia are back from their suspension. Will Hughes, new contract. Great to see. You know, he's here until 2027, so he's got a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Moving on to Newcastle. Pretty similar for them, actually. They've got Lewis Hall, which is out, which is a big loss for them. Lascelles, which is out. He's sort of their backup. So
yeah, he's never starting for them, is he? Really?
Not really anything there. But probably the only one that's of real concern there is Botman is still out. He came back, got injured, and he's out again. The only person that will be back for them is Joe Willock. But other than that, everyone else is fit. So Callum Wilson is fit. The guy who always scores against us. So, you know, it is what it is. So, oh yeah, Chairman seems to think that someone's saying that Munoz has signed a new deal. I haven't seen anything regarding that. I think Guzman said it, but I haven't seen anyone else say it. I'm only going to trust what the club says. I have shot Bobby a message. He says he hasn't heard anything. So, you know.
The only thing I've literally just had a quick Google.
It's only Woosman that said something on Twitter about it.
I mean, it's on New York. It's on New York Times by Matt Woosnam. Says he apparently signed a new contract with the club. It was set to expire in 2027. But there's not really any more details. No, it doesn't say how long it's for. So,
yeah, I'm not going to.
International period still set to expire with an option, but he's now agreed at fresh terms after being rewarded after his impressive performances.
I'm not going to believe anything until I see it from the club.
Yeah,
which is probably the way that people should be doing things anyway. But let's go into our predicted lineups. So for me, I've gone with our same lineup. I've gone with Hendo in goal, with Mitchell, Gay, Lacroix, Richards, Munoz at the back. I've gone Wharton, Lerma in the middle, with Ebbs, Mateta, and Sarr up top. Dan, do you agree? Do you disagree? If you do disagree, what would you change?
You know, I was thinking, right, actually in the middle. Obviously, Hughes has been fantastic for us this season, but I think this game, I feel like Lerma might be quite an important player, and we'll see why later. So I can back Lerma in the middle there, definitely.
I have seen quite a few people on Twitter, and I think in our comments, we're not doing the match preview, saying that they think that Chilwell should start in this game. Personally, I think because of how attacking Newcastle are, I don't think we can risk having Chilwell playing, let's say. I think that being defensively solid is going to be a little bit more important in this game, especially after how we lost against Manchester City compared to scoring goals right now.
I also think as well, I think one of Chilwell's problems is that he's quite slow. And I think, therefore, he's not good at recovering very well if he's caught up the pitch.
Yeah.
And I feel like this could be one of those games where, put it this way, I don't think we're going to really... I think it's going to be quite a transition-based game.
But to be fair, both teams thrive under transition, and both teams' kryptonite is the transition as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for that reason, I would say Mitchell would be the better shout here because I think he's got better recovery pace.
100%. Going on to Newcastle now, they play basically a flat 4-3-3 with the forwards being a little bit more inside because of how overlapping their wing backs are. But I've gone here with Pope in goal, Livramento, Burns, Shah, and Trippier at the back. Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton in the middle, with Murphy on the right, Harvey Barnes on the left, and Isak up top.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had on mine as well.
And the middle, I know Dan's going to talk about it a little bit more later, but the middle three, outside shouts, probably the one of the best midfields in the whole Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the roles that they've got in that midfield, and I think since, because I know they went through a weird stage of having Guimaraes at
DM, didn't they?
Yeah, in the middle, but I think Tonali's been a real revelation there. And also as well, I think it's worth pointing out that like early on, like that flat three isn't always a flat three. It does move around. And I think the three of them do work really well together, just anyway.
Oh yeah, you could see it like that.
Yeah, sometimes you even see it with like Bruno dropping deep and then Joe Linton being a bit further ahead. I'll explain it more in detail later, but
Yeah, you could,
they work very well together.
Any way around as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I think as well, Tonali's a really good. I would, without trying to sound cliche, I would say like he's like the metronome of the team. Like he does keep things ticking, especially like in that area of the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Right. Just some quick comments before we go on to the attack. So Glasner is class in the press conferences. Yeah, I agree. I think he comes across so well on comms. I think every interview, I don't think I've ever seen an interview of his where I've been like, you know what, I don't agree with that. But honestly, I think he's doing well. Big up Nordine. Thanks for tuning in. The thought is rotation in the lead up to Villa. I think we're laser focused on the cup. And actually, I think this is a good point, actually, before going on to the attack, where I do kind of want to talk about that a little bit. People know how much I love Glasner, but one thing I will say is that I don't think he's really rotated as much as maybe he should have, in my opinion. I'm not saying like, throw on like Caleb Kapoor starting or anything like that, but like, I don't know, like maybe saying that I suppose Nketiah wasn't available for the last game. I don't know. I just feel like maybe there could be a bit more opportunity for rotation. Like maybe Chilwell could have maybe had more minutes. And I do think that, but then I suppose you could argue, does he have the depth available? Maybe, but then you could say, well, he's been bought SC, even though we maybe bought him earlier than originally we anticipated. I don't know. And also another thing I genuinely think, and I agree with Chairman when we went to Southampton, I think it's on the vlog, which you should watch, by the way, if you haven't.
Shameless.
I think our players I don't think they'll be as intense in the league until we know where we finish in the FA Cup. I don't think they're going to be intense because at the end of the day, these players, at the moment, we're in a semi-final and we're looking at players who, and this is going to be a game that is intense and we're going to be, loads of duels all over the place. And you're thinking to yourself, in my opinion, I'm thinking to myself, are they going to commit to those 50-50s if we weren't if we were already out the FA Cup, for example?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they will because I don't think they'll want to get injured.
I'll tell you what, I agree with that completely. I remember when we went to Wembley under Vieira, the game before that we played against Leicester. That was probably the worst away performance I've ever seen from us. We really couldn't be bothered to do anything all game, and we should have smashed them.
Yeah.
Like we weren't bothered, and we still beat them 2-1. That's how bad they were that year. But still, we were awful.
Yeah.
It's happened before for us, and it happened before in the cup, before we played Watford as well. We were awful in the league.
Yeah, and even going back to Pardew, I think it's just a natural thing. And also, there's actually an observation. I know a Newcastle fan in real life, and he was saying the same thing about them. But I think they had a bit of a a few games before they played the League Cup final, they weren't playing as well. And I think it's exactly the same thing. I think it happens to every team. How do you beat that? I don't know, really. I think that's just a psychological thing you just have to put up with. But yeah, I do think still no rotation in the front line. I mean, could we see Nketiah play this game? I don't know. Maybe we will. But I don't know. I think he'll go full strength. Do I think he should? I don't know. But I feel like we should be thinking about
the more win. I think if you're going to go for one of the games more, you go for the Bournemouth game a little bit more than this game.
And I think as well. I think this week for me is okay, but it's the Arsenal game in a week's time that I'm like,
I mean, Kafora started against them in the cup, so why couldn't that happen again? Yes, Munoz was injured. No, he wasn't injured. He was carded, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was banned.
Yeah. But still.
Talking of cards, Earth thinks you should be given a yellow card for saying, forgive him. What? Should be given a yellow card for saying Man City would beat Palace.
Yeah, I was.
Why would you be given a yellow card? I'm not going to lie. I wasn't really expecting anything going up there anyway.
No. I think Earth said in the comments to one of our fan cams saying, damn, why did JC say they have to win?
Nah.
I can't lie. Everything was against us in my mind. They're not playing well. We're playing well. It's just the Crystal Palace way. It's just going to switch.
Fortunately, I was somewhere with very little signal, so I couldn't watch the game, and I've not really had time to watch it since. So, lucky me. We have to hope there aren't any injuries. See, this is exactly it. Like, no player wants to get injured. Okay, the cards don't really matter too much unless it's like, I think it's a violent conduct, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But yeah, Dog thinks that Chilwell has to start. Why would you start Chilwell, Dog? France deserves to start. He needs to score against City. Yeah, I can see that. Personally, for me, I think this is going to be a good game for Sarr. But going back to rotation, I would like to see early subs, regardless of what the score is, to be honest.
Personally, I think it'll be more. I think this game will be better for Eze than Sarr.
Okay, all right.
Personally,
all right. We can debate that in a bit. Might not be changes until the Arsenal match. Yeah, for sure. If we're not rotating, we're daft. If we get an injury, we want the rotation players to be match fit and ready. Don't care about the league now. Yeah, I think as well, like losing. Drawing to Southampton, then losing to City, we are off the pace at the end of the day. So I think, I was saying this a couple of months ago, but I think all eggs in the FA Cup basket. Right. Anyways, let's talk about the attack, and I'm pretty sure it's this intro.
Yeah,
I got it. I felt like I did remember it well. Right, so let's talk about Newcastle. I feel like they've had a bit of a weird season in attack, to be honest. And I did their attack last time for the reverse game, where obviously they recorded one shot off target, 0 shots on target. I think their XG was like 0.01. And yet somehow Crystal Palace managed to draw 1-1. So they have tweaked things a little bit. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I'll tell you some overall stats. So far this season, they have the 5th highest XG of any team in the league. However, they only take the 11th most shots per 90. So obviously that means they must create good chances, which is true, because they are joint second for the most XG, non-penalty XG per shot. Theirs is 0.12, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at the table, that is joint second. They don't really keep the ball so much. They're on 49.9% possession. They ranked 14th for crosses into the box, for crosses completed into the box, 6th for passes into the box. I looked at their shot creating actions. The only things I noticed were maybe were higher than their kind of average, were that they seem to create chances from fouls a lot. But I had a look into that, and it seems to be just that they are just fouled quite a lot, so therefore they create a lot of chances that way. And they are joint first for defensive actions that become shots, which again I'll talk about that in a minute. They have less XG when drawing. I think there's a reason for that. Again, I'll talk about that. And just as a little kind of segue into the beginning, Isak has the highest non-penalty expected goals per shot of any player in the league, with at least 10 shots this season. 0.2 is his average. So basically, on average, every chance he gets is at least 0.2 xg, which is very high. But why is that? So we kind of spoke about it briefly earlier, but we said that this is going to be a very transitional type of game. Now, one thing you will notice, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed this whenever they watch Newcastle, so forget these players for a moment. Isak is always on the shot. Well, not always, but a lot of the time is on the shoulder of the last defender. And what he's looking to do is he's looking in to get behind here. Okay. And that's whether it's there or there. If there's space to exploit, then he will look to exploit that. Okay. And, there'll be many ways of doing this. They'll either get into a position where they can thread a ball inside, or it could even be as simple as they just kind of kick it long. The only thing I will say about Newcastle attack, in my opinion, is that I do think they do rely on Isak's individual brilliance a bit, which I don't think is a particularly sustainable way of attacking. But nevertheless,
it can't be, because when we played, not trying to gas us too much, but in the home game, Isak was injured, wasn't he? He got injured very early, and then they had almost no answers to anything we did defensively.
Yes, let me have a look.
I'm sure he got subbed off early.
I feel like I remember that. Yeah. Hang on, this is taking a while. Where are we? So, Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. He came off. What is this doing?
Oh,
for God's sake. Sorry, my finger.
I got it here.
Cheers.
He came, I'm sure it was early.
I feel like I remember.
22 minutes he came off.
Yeah, there you go. So because I feel like, right, he gets in behind and then he does very well. Or another thing that he does do is that he will drop off into the space in between the lines. And the thing is, when he's receiving the ball here, he's able to turn and then and he's really good at playing off other players as well. I think that's one of the big things that they've been able to do. Like recently, his form has just been so good that he's able to kind of do all that by himself. But as you said, if he's not on the pitch, you do have a Callum Wilson. Okay, yes, they are a focal point, but they're certainly less mobile. And another thing that I've noticed is that sometimes you might actually see Isak and Barnes swap. So I have seen Isak move to the left-hand side whilst Barnes occupies that middle space. Again, it's just for Isak to get on the ball because theoretically there would be more space out wide. And so he's able to kind of run with the ball a bit. And also, Isak is definitely better when he's able to turn and face the opposition defenders. So he can receive the ball here, and he is quick at turning as well. So it's not a case of trying to shut him down. He's quick and he's good at doing it. So he is able to turn and run at you. And I think when the premise when he is pulled out wide is that he is then able to like run at defenders a bit more. And also Harvey Barnes, in addition to Isak, is also happy to run in behind, which is good for them. And also as well, let's say Lacroix is properly on him. Even then, like I feel like he is very good at kind of holding the ball up a little bit and then just laying it off to like a Guimarães or to a Murphy or to a Barnes. And it segues nicely onto the next bit that I want to say is that I talked briefly about Harvey Barnes. He likes to run in behind. He's also very decent on the ball as well. Again, running at players. I think he was very good at this at Leicester as well. You know, running at players, very, very good. Now, this is something that I think they've improved on. I'm not saying that Lewis Hall isn't good at this because I've only watched the games where Livramento's come in. But Livramento, even though he is right-footed, is very good at overlapping. He's a very, very willing overlapper. And I find that, and that's really good because before, what you see with Hall was that like he would just kind of sit there. And so because there's no one out on this space, our defence just didn't have to worry about him at all. Because the worst that a player could do there is run at you. Okay, then it's a 2v1 situation like that. And then all you then be able to do is just pass back. And then at that point, they just kind of running into each other.
Yeah.
I think it was Anthony Gordon on this side, I think, if I remember correctly. Which reminds me, actually, where I don't know where he is, but anyway. And also, the thing is with Livramento as well, even though he is right-footed, I have seen him be able to get to the byline and then just like dink like little crosses into here. So even though he is right-footed, he's still got a decent left-footed cross. I mean, his left-footed cross is probably better than Tyrone Mitchell's left-footed cross. So, I know that's not saying a lot, but you know that is what it is. And because you have that, and also the good thing about Livramento as well is that he's also happy to underlap. So this left-hand side, you might see it as Livramento on the inside and then Barnes on the outside, because Barnes is also happy to do either as well. In fact, generally what you'll probably see is that Barnes will let's put our players in an actual block, shall we? What you'll see on this side is say Barnes holding the width, receives the ball, will run at, and then as he runs inside, Livramento will overlap on the outside, and then that will then cause problems because let's say Sarr hasn't tracked back properly, or he's caught up here after an attack or something. You got Chris Richards, and bear in mind, like Joe Linton will be pushing up, or Guimarães will be pushing up on this side. At that point, and again, if your player hasn't tracked them properly, you potentially got a 3v2 situation. Or let's say even if they have tracked back, okay, Harvey Barnes is going to move inside, but because we want the +1 here, Munoz or whoever it is they're gonna double up on him, which means that Livramento, who is now on the outside, it's not quite as simple as if before he was there, they could forget about it, but this time they can't quite commit to that +1. So it will be very essential for Sarr to obviously be on his toes. I think he will, because I think defensively he's been pretty decent this season. But that is certainly something to watch out for. And I think it does work on the other side as well, although I don't think it works so much in this way. Because I kind of feel like when they start to, and you can see it's when they start to build out. And guys, the reason why I'm not really talking about strict, rigid systems here is because, to be honest, I don't think we'll see it that much in this. I think we might see it when we're like sat in a low block, but I don't think that's going to be that much the case in this game. So let's say they do have the ball and they are, I don't know, playing out, for example, right? What you'll see is that you'll see, like if they do need to be in this kind of thing, what you'll see is that Trippier tends to drop. And I think Murphy tends to go here, and then Guimarães is the one that tends to push up a bit. So you'll see kind of more like a back three of these three on build up. With Livramento is the one who pushes up quite a lot. and that's more what you'll see. That's not to say Trippier doesn't get ahead. He does. So when they are over here, and let's say the ball is on this side, and they do, let's say Guimaraes is on the ball here. And actually, this is probably something that I would maybe be a bit worried about, is that you have, say, Trippier over here, Tonali's there, Livermano's here. Let's say it is something like that. Like Trippier is going to be more than happy to make that overlap to try and make a better chance of it over here. Because you look at that, we've got a 3v3. That's better than him sitting back and it being a 3v2 for us. So he is gonna do that because he's a very experienced player. He's very conscious of what even just running into an overlap will do and try and draw space. So he will do that. And obviously, one thing I would be worried about for me personally is that Trippier does get into this position, whips in a cross, and then you've got someone like Joe Linton who will get in between, say, Munoz and Richards, like Onuachu did against Southampton. And then that's going to be big problemo, in my opinion. Let's see, what else have I got down here? Occasionally swap. Okay, yeah. So let's go back to when let's say they do have a goal kick. They're not really the type of team to build out from the back, to be honest. So when they do have a goal kick, they will pretty much. So let's do it like how I said it kind of goes. So Tonali would be deep. Guimaraes would be a little bit higher up the pitch, and it will look something like that. Let's just say, okay. And then I don't know, maybe Warren will push up a bit or something like that. It will look something like that, I imagine. Generally speaking, they will hit a long ball. Now, JC, if there's any player right in Newcastle's 11, who do you think he's going to ping it to?
What, the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
I mean,
one player in the Newcastle team, the keeper's just going to kick it long.
It's going to be the guy that couldn't play striker, but he can play midfield.
Exactly. And this is where I was saying that you won't see this midfield like that all the time. Like in these situations, it's very much like it kind of plays a double pivot. And then he's going to try and ping that along. And that's why I said earlier, it would be interesting to have Lerma playing, because Lerma's a lot better in the air than Will Hughes is. Now, let's say Will Hughes is playing. Who could we maybe have instead? Because what they'll do as well is they'll make sure that Isak is there to be able to play off Joel Linton as well. And to be fair to Joel Linton, if he brings down the ball, like he's still decent on the ball. Let's not get that twisted. He is still decent on the ball. So he will look to try and play off Isak as well. Perhaps even Bruno might get involved. Depends where they are on the pitch. Or who knows, maybe Barnes will move inside and then Liver will look to overlap or something like that. But either way, he is the target man. So if we don't play Lerma, I guess the next best thing you could do. Now this is going to be difficult, but I guess what you could do is you could
push one of the centre backs up.
Yeah, so maybe Chris Richards. I think that would be a potentially good pairing. What could be maybe a bit squeaky bum time is that, because I think Chris Richards is a good pairing there. And if he does play off Isak, I think Lacroix's aggressive. And even if he does turn him, I would back Lacroix to catch up with Isak. I know Isak is still quick, but Lacroix's quicker. And then you've got your spare defender here to try and win that. And then you just got to hope that Sarr then also kind of tucks in. And then we're looking okay there. Obviously, that's probably a bit further up the pitch than it should be. I guess what would be a bit squeaky bum time is if, let's say that they reversed it. So let's say that Bruno dropped a bit deeper, and then I don't know, Tonali was the one that pushed up a little bit, but then Joel Linton went to the other side. I wouldn't back Gay in an aerial duel with Joel Linton, if I'm to be honest. Brilliant on the floor, brilliant ground duel, but Joel Linton is very good in the air, and I don't think Gay would be up to it. in my opinion, I think Chris Richards would definitely have a better time. So how do you cover that? I guess the only answer I've really got is to play Lerma. So then he can drop off, and then perhaps you can push Tyron Mitchell up, and
He
then
can
Mark
go
Gay
for those
can come to
1v1
the side.
duels with Joe Linton, can't he?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say it's Jefferson Lerma. I would back him more so in that aerial duel battle. But I think Newcastle are a strange team because they don't really seem to do anything specifically well, which I think is
PSG are
probably
1-up,
why
by the way.
already. Oh God, it's probably why they've been quite dangerous. Is because they don't really have a specific way of it. So therefore, it's hard for managers to set up against that in a way. But one thing I do want to talk about, and I know this will kind of, I guess, go into a bit of JC's bit, but I do want to talk about their press. Mainly because that is something that they use to control games. But something I've noticed is that they don't really tend to press high as much as they used to. And there's a reason for that. And to be honest, it's a trend that you're seeing throughout the whole Premier League, is that teams are pressing less. And like we said before, tactics are cyclical. So teams aren't pressing so much. I think the reason for that is because it is riskier. Teams are getting better at playing out the press. And also, the amount of injuries Newcastle had last season because of the intensity they played at was incredible. Whereas this season, they seem to have managed it a lot better. And I think that's one of the reasons why they press less. But that's not to say that they don't press. They do still press. So let's set us up in a thing. And I'm going to tell you how I think they're going to press us rather than talking about other teams.
I think I would also say that there are definitely certain individuals that press a lot better than others. So, like,
What do you
I
mean?
think probably the guy that I think, yes, this is probably a little bit of recency biased with how Harvey Barnes scored his goal the other day. But I'd say he's probably one of the better ones at the press because he will run that full 90. And basically, because they've got people like Anthony Gordon to replace him, I'm sure that Eddie Howe's instructions to him is just run like hell, and then we've got someone just as good as you to come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because he's not even injured, is he? Like, he's actually on the bench.
Dortmund have scored as well.
Well, what is the score in that game?
So
well, not the score. What's the aggregate?
Both of them aggregate is 4-1.
Oh.
So 4-1 Barca, 4-1 Villa. So they don't really make any difference.
No. So Villa have to win 3-1. Okay, that's not happening, is it? 4-1. All right, never mind. Well, it'd be 3-1. Oh, it'd be 3-1 to draw, and then 4-1 to win. But yeah, so with their press, I think what they'll do, I've got two theories of how they will press us. So I think they will press us as soon as the ball gets to Mitchell. I think they're just going to jump like that, and they're going to let him try and pick out a player here. And let's say that Eze drops like he has done, pass it into him. Trippier's going to come straight in and try and battle that. Trippier can be quite an aggressive defender. So I think he could win some of those battles. And obviously, if he wins that battle there, that's a great opportunity for him to springboard and attack onto us. So I think that could be one way. Another way I think as well is that I think they'll be happy to have Richards have the ball here. I think Richards has improved in his passing, but that's not to say that he's bulletproof. So, pass the ball, the Lequoir receives the ball. Let's say that they've jumped. So Wharton can't receive the ball. Hughes can't receive the ball. So the only option there is either, and let's say they're going man to man over here, let's say, right? So you've got a spare man over here. Pass it to Richards. Maybe even they actually go like that or something just to cover Sarr, because I'm sure they'll be wary of how quick Sarr is in behind, especially compared to Burn and Shah. With that, said Harvey Barnes, very decent. So again, if they're smart with this, they can definitely close him down. Munoz will be covered, and then you're forced into a risky pass where is Saul gonna hold up against Dan Burn?
Probably
Don't
not.
know. Probably not. So
if you can get him in a
that's
running
my
race,
theory.
probably.
Yeah, and that's my theory. And what's the point of this in terms of their attack? Well, obviously, if they win the ball in this area, it's a perfect springboard for them to attack us.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, with that in mind as well, one thing they're not good at is defending against. And to be honest, this is a problem that pretty much every team in the league has. But defending against a low block, if they can generate a chance without even needing to try and break down a low block, believe me, they're gonna try and do that. So I think that's a way. Also, as well, even if they don't win the ball there, it just allows them control in the game as well. I don't think we'll mind that too much, but it could be difficult for us to get out, and therefore the pressure could be a bit bad. And especially when you got, I would imagine, a very tired JP in this game. Maybe we could see Nketiah come on relatively early, perhaps. Is there anything else? No, not really. Like I said, I don't think we'll really see like a build-up shape, because if, let's say that they do win the ball in their half over here, let's say I don't know, Dan Burns won the ball, whatever. They're gonna very much be the kind of team who looks on that counter, because they got someone like Isak. They've got Harvey Barnes who's willing to run in behind. They got Tonali's very capable of pinging a very good pass. Same with Guimaraes as well. You've got Jacob Murphy, who's in red hot form, who's also happy to. And then you've got, I feel like Livramento got much more of an engine than Trippier just because of his age. But that's not to say Trippier doesn't have an engine. He certainly does. So, when they break, they're going to break quickly, and they're going to try and hurt us on transitions. So that's why I've not really focused on any particular build-up shapes. One thing I could say, actually, but again, I don't think they're going to do this, because when they play out a goal, most of the time they do play out like just with a long ball. But I think if we can they do tend to go to Shah a lot more if they are in this part of the pitch, because he's just better on the ball than Burn is. So I don't know, maybe we could use that to kind of spring something, or try and force him into a City long pass, or even maybe use their best attack against him. Like, I know Isak's in red hot form, but if we can manage to engineer situations where we're doubling up on Isak, maybe we can marshal him and then try and kind of take him out of the game. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll get injured within 20 minutes again, but we'll see. But that's all I really have to say. Yeah, JC, is there anything you wanted to ask?
Not really. I think the only thing that I would do as well, I mean, I'll talk about a little bit about the press on my end as well. But the only part that I really had on my end of the press is that they have very distinct triggers where they will not press the goalkeeper at all. If the goalkeeper has the ball, they'll much rather pick up a position in front of the centre-back, let's say. So they'll make it so that no matter what, you have to go long. And to be fair, I think with Henderson's passing these days, I think he's good enough to actually drop the ball in between the centre-backs and the midfield. And the forwards. I think he's good enough to drop it into some free space for Wharton or Will Hughes or Lerma to run into, or maybe even Munoz if he's a little bit higher up the pitch. But what they'll try and what the reason why they do that is because they want to try and isolate us to having our striker go 1v1 in the air against Dan Burn. That's literally why they do it. They want the keeper to panic, go long, and then Dan Burn will win the header 9 times out of 10. That's what they're banking on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, that is a good point. I've got to talk about their press triggers. I know they're very set. Are you going to talk about that in your bit?
No, that was the only thing that I would have added on top of what you said about they've got certain triggers where, for example, the goalkeeper one. I think
back to goals as well is another one. Like if our player, for example, received it back to goal, facing our goal, then that's another trigger. I know that they do that's
a trigger where their midfielders will take turns in, I guess, fouling. At that point, they are one of the teams to give away the most fouls. So if you are back, like if you're facing your own goal, they'll happily run into the back of you and then just stop the play. They like to break up play for the opposition so they don't get any like momentum in the game. Which, to be fair, game is game. I get it, but there is a time and a place where I think when going back through when I was watching some games back, I think it was Fulham. I think it was Fulham, but it was Fulham last year when they had Paulinho, who was like picking up the ball and dictating play. Genuinely, they had Joe Linton and then Bruno and then Willock, just all of them just clattering him before he can even pick up the ball and turn. Because if you've got a playmaker like Adam Wharton's probably going to get fouled a hell of a lot in this game. So from his recent head loss, let's say, of getting booked really early, that could be a problem for us in this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, just do some very, very quick comments and then we will move on to the defence. Very quickly, Spiritual saying Livermore has pace. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of his. Big up Adieri. Nick Pope in goal, Trips, Tino Livramento left. And Isak to win for Newcastle United. Ray. Yeah, I think they've definitely got a very strong team. I think it's going to be a really tough game. Yeah, as you said, PSG are winning, Villa are cooked. We were saying this, Earth. Fortunately, instead of that, they play Man City in the midweek before that. Which, if they want Champions League, they need to win that game. So, that's going to be a really tough. That's going to be. I think that works in our favour anyway. Obviously, to be honest, I don't think anyone really expected them to beat PSG. Don't like PSG, so come on, Villa. I got a weird feeling about PSG because I like them for our association with the Fanatics, but yeah, I don't like. I like their fans, I think, but I don't like their club. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how true it is, but I was just having a quick scroll through Twitter, and apparently, when all the players and the mascots were lining up, you know how they normally play the Champions League music at Villa Park, they played the Europa League music.
Really?
They didn't actually play the Champions League one.
Brilliant.
So all of Twitter is just saying Villa admins getting fired.
Yeah. Brilliant. Fun fact about the Champions League theme music, it was actually written by a Crystal Palace fan, which is very ironic, isn't it?
Because we're never going to hear it.
Yeah. Right, anyways, here is the defense.
All right, let's get into it. So, Newcastle, like other teams, they do like a little bit to dabble in a little bit of the low block. Their defensive shape is pretty much what you'd expect. So they normally play a 4-3-3, as we know, but their defensive shape is 4-5-1. 4-5-1 is pretty common. I think the most common ones are 4-5-1, 4-4-2. That's normally how most teams defend in the Premier League this year. But the thing that I find quite interesting about their 4-5-1 is that when they're actually defending, around the back, like around this area here and this area here, not the central areas, but sort of where Richards, Munoz, Gay, and Mitchell are, they're not really too bothered if we have the ball here. And I say that because they want Isak to literally stand next to our central centre-back at all times. If Mark has the ball, Isak's not going to be the one to go over there. The one that will do it is the wide player, so Murphy will go over there. That's how they'll press. They won't actually let Isak come off of this player here and go to press there. They'll always keep him here in the centre, up as high as possible without being offside. And you might think, well, that's a bit stupid. No, you want your forward player to go around, try and get the ball, try and speed up the game. But it's actually quite clever. I'll tell you why. If he stands next to the Qua, it means that the only way we can get the ball from this side of the pitch over to this side of the pitch without passing it around the back is you've either got to go through the midfield, which means that their players are a lot closer proximity and they could win the ball back, or you've got to do a really slow aerial pass over the top here, which comes with a lot of risk because as the ball's traveling, Joe Linton could jump out of his line, grab the ball, and then, they're in on the attack. So it's quite interesting because they want to keep him as high as possible because if they win the ball in this area, they can just go bang route one, and then it's just a running race between these two. So he's always in a dangerous area by standing here. And also by standing here, you're stopping us from recycling the ball around the back, which, I thought that was quite a smart idea of doing it. And also it's the thing of, by doing that, you also conserve Isak's energy, which is quite a simple thing that you don't even think about. You want your striker to use all his energy when scoring goals.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's doing this all game, he's not going to be using much energy. And if he's just going to be there just to sprint in behind and annoy us by not allowing us to pass around the back, it's quite a smart play. I think he must have learnt this off of Callum Wilson. He used to do this all the time at Bournemouth. And it was so annoying because he would do this and then they'd have Josh King running around doing all the donkey work up front for them. So, quite interesting, if I do say so myself. The fullbacks. I think that I'll say this now when I eventually go on to the how do we attack them. I think the fullbacks is where we can shine here. But for the fullbacks, for these guys, they're very, very aggressive up high on the pitch. So on a transition, let's say that they were running behind, we got the ball, and then we turn it over. So they've done a madness. They've bunged everyone forwards, as they do. And then we get the ball, and then let's say Lacroix finds Munoz out here. In our half of the pitch, their fullbacks are so aggressive. Is that because referees are a little bit more lenient in the attacking third when it comes to defending? Probably. And also the fact that if you have a free kick in the attacking third, they're less likely to give you a card, and they're really far away from the goal, so it really doesn't matter if you give away a free kick from this deep. Which is why, if they're anywhere near, they will do a slide tackle, they'll take out the man, they'll pull the shirt, they'll do whatever over here. However, the second that this ball and a man travels into this half, that changes completely. And this is for both fullbacks. If Munoz wants to, and he's got the ball here, and he's running towards the goal, Livramento will just back off, and do a little bit of the Virgil van Delegate kind of defending. This is the kind of defending that gives him the kind of stats to say that he's never been dribbled past. He's never been dribbled past because he runs away from being dribbled past. However, when you get into the danger areas where a shot could be taken, that's when they step up, which is our chance to, I guess, pass or do whatever. But the reason why they back off is because they want you to slow down. If you don't slow down and just keep running, they're just going to keep backing up. And the reason why they want you to slow down is so that they can get their slower players, like their centre-backs, to get back in time. So that's what they want to do. Pretty much the same thing with the centre-backs as well. So if Mateta's running through here, these guys are just going to back off all the way back here and then step up when it comes to the danger areas, which to me is a little bit strange. I don't know why you'd want to do your tackle here. You'd much rather want to do it here. But considering we are a team that specialize on set pieces rather than free kicks, they probably would rather us get a free kick here than here because we're more dangerous here, according to the stats this year. So I can understand that in this game specifically. When they defend, really, it's I wouldn't say it's lazy and slow, but they're not really busting a gut to get back if they're going towards their own goal. They really struggle. they're not the best team when it comes to defending. Because if we're running in behind and we've got players here, they're not gonna beeline to them and take them out. They're just gonna sort of follow them around, and they'd rather shepherd you out compared to tackle the ball and move the ball on. They'd much rather do the shepherding thing, get in your way. If you take a shot, you have to hit one of them, or you have to get it through a load of players. That's how they want to defend. They don't want to make too many challenges, which is interesting. And the reason why I think it's interesting is the reason why I said to you that I think this is more of an Eze game than a Sarr game. Because Dan, who would you rather have someone have run at one of these fullbacks, let's say? Bearing in mind, they'll back up, and then when a trigger happens, they'll step in. Who would you rather? Would you rather someone with speed or someone that can change direction on a dime?
Well, yeah, if they're trying to beat the player, yeah, then definitely Eze.
So that's why I feel like this will be a very good game for Eze, because these players, barring the midfielders, because the midfielders are very good and they'll just take you out and they'll do what they need to do early. But the actual defenders, they have a specific trigger. If Eze can get that trigger and he can understand where it comes and what the signals are, and he can skip past someone, let's say, I don't know, let's move these guys out a little bit. Let's say Eze's going 1v1 with Trippier. And then so we've played the ball in. Trippier's doing a madness. They're coming back here. You got Mateta, you got Sarr. I don't know, let's say you got Bruno and Tonali sort of around here. Everyone's backing up. Trippier hits his trigger, but then Eze jumps around him. Bearing in mind that Shah, no matter what, he has to step out here. You'd much rather Eze be the person to make this happen and be running towards the goal. Because if this happens for Sarr out here, he's not gonna dribble past on. He's gonna knock it and run. So Sarr's gonna find his way all the way down the byline here, and then they're gonna sweep up here. Whereas Eze can come here, move inside, and be able to make a pass. Whether that's one over here to Mateta, whether that's a back post cross here to Sarr, you got a lot more options because of the individual ability of Eze right there. So, how do we beat it? I think, in a weird way, I kind of explained it already. You want to dribble at them. You want to transition on them because they throw so much forwards when they are in the attacking phase that they're really not all there defensively. So I think Dan said that this was roughly about where they are when they're going forwards. Roughly. But if we can, risk reward it and stand up high, we can create an overload in their half just by winning the ball and turning around and passing forward very quickly. And Adam Wharton is world class at doing that. Confident on the ball, transitions. I think the last thing I would say is press the keeper.
Yeah.
Pope all that with his feet.
I agree.
Yeah, that's about it from me. Not too intricate of how to play against them and how they defend. They defend really well. It's just that they've got glaring issues with how they defend, like the aura defending is what I'd like to call it. Aura defending and just having very slow defenders. Their wing backs are nice and quick, apart from Trippier. Yeah. But for me, the aura defending, it doesn't run. I'd much rather our players step up, make a mistake, because you've got all that space to run back and make a challenge again, compared to only having one chance.
Yeah. Also, as well, I think it's important to say that Burn and Cher aren't quick players either.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in fact, of the three players who are likely to form part of that rest defense, and sometimes if we're in a low block, sometimes Trippier is not even in that. It is just literally a Cher and Dan Burn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I was saying about Saul maybe being important, because like when you got that pace, but equally, like if Eze's having a good game and he's got say Mateta running off him and he is running at say Cher or Burn, whilst they are good defenders, like if there's space in behind to run into, you would maybe back. I don't know whether you back them to recover, to be honest.
I don't think you would.
Play it right.
I think one thing I did forget. I actually think. Forgive me if this sounds crazy. I actually think you can really hurt Newcastle because of how they set up for throw-ins.
Okay, go on.
Okay, let me cook. So if we do a throw, let's say Mitchell's got the ball here and we're doing a throw-in over here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This is roughly what it would look like. Yeah. So you have like quite a few of our players around there. Mark picking up the touchline. The Qua sort of pick up this space. Richards here. Munoz picking up loads of space here. Mateta being about here. Because they play Shah on the right side of centre-back and Burn on the left side of centre-back, for every throw-in that I saw when I watched 2 full Newcastle games, full 90s, every single throw-in from the opposition team, no matter what, the number 9 had Dan Burn marking him.
Okay.
Every single time. And bearing in mind, Shah stayed in his position and Livramento was actually more pushed up here. Can you see a problem here?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I could foresee something, say like Eze receiving the ball, passing it back to Wharton, who's facing their goal, and then I would back him to potentially, or even if that's Hughes, just ping a pass over the top, and then you're in.
So this one might be one of my hot takes, but with how they've done it, with how they're doing it like this, yes, having Dan Burn there, if we want to go to our striker, it's the perfect solution. But is it the perfect solution if you literally make yourself have no defenders on the left side of the pitch? If the throw-in's on the right side, they've got no one on the left side up top. Mm-hmm. Do you really want to leave these 2 guys unmarked?
Well, no.
Probably not. This is probably one of my more hypotheticals, because when they've done this, I haven't actually seen a team be able to counter-attack effectively against them. The only team that has done it is Wolves, and how they did it was the left back passed it into it wasn't Lamina, it was the other guy, the Portuguese one. He's the young kid, Gomez.
The Portuguese one that doesn't narrow it down.
I think it's Gomez, João Gomez.
Oh, João Gomez.
But basically, their fullback passed it into him. I think Bruno tried to come get the ball. He sort of like did one of those, touched it out of his feet. Bruno went flying, and he laid a great pass. It was like one of them through balls, but it like curled on the floor as it went round. And it went right into Cunha, and he took it round the keeper and he scored from their throw-in. And I thought that was quite impressive, because Dan Burn was standing next to Larson. He wasn't picking up Cunha whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
okay,
a definite hypothetical from me, but it could work. It could work.
Yeah. Oh no, I can see that. No, you cooked.
If it happens, you won't hear the end of it.
Right. Let's go through some comments, do some score predictions, and then we'll call it a day. Parent Animal saying we should do a controversial tier list, Premier League clubs likability. I'd happily do controversial tier lists.
I would happily do that.
I'd do that. It's not 2-0 anymore. It is 2-1. Animal very excited. Apparently Villa look poor at the back.
Telemans was the scorer.
Telemans. It's good news. I think Villa have too much on their plate. Don't want to jinx it, but delete your comment, animal, please. But I know this isn't our game, but actually Villa play Newcastle on Saturday. So Villa's next games after today are Newcastle on Saturday, City on Tuesday, and then they play us on the Saturday. Bearing in mind that the table is Villa currently in 7th on 54, City in 5th on 55, and Newcastle in 4th on 56. So if they want Champions League football, those are two really, really, really important games. So hopefully that plays into our favour. But anyways, well, I'm sure we will discuss all of this at a later date. JC, I throw myself under the bus. I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I think we're going to lose.
Thank you.
I think we're going to lose. Sorry, I'm a bit pessimistic about this game, to be honest. And also, I just think Newcastle's a bit of a weird one. But having said that, we do seem to always draw up there, apart from when we lost 4-0. I don't think it'll be 4-0 again, but I'm going to go 2-1 to Newcastle. I think they'll beat us.
Funny enough, I said the same thing.
You're going 2-1 Newcastle?
I'm going 2-1 Newcastle. I can see us caring enough to go forwards, but I can't see us caring enough to go for every 50-50, especially if it's going to be a very transitional game. There's going to be players that are going to pull out of these kind of challenges, and the only one that won't will be a Will Hughes and Adam Wharton, but they're going to get booked early, and then that means that we're not going to have anything in the middle again. And I think the fact that they overrun us, like literally man for man in the midfield as well, they're going to have 3 and we're only going to have 2. And most of their work happens in the midfield. I thought they're just going to run the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2-0, let alone 2-1 or 3-1.
Yeah,
but I'll stick 2-1
as well. You know what? I might even put a $5 on Will Hughes and Adam Wharton to get booked tomorrow, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, don't gamble, kids, but that is free money.
Yeah.
If Hughes starts, him getting a yellow is free money.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Is there anything else to... Oh, actually, this week, obviously, the game's tomorrow. I don't know if there's going to be a watch-along. We always lose when we do only watch-along, so...
Nah, none of us are going.
None of us are going, unfortunately. I did think about going, but problem is the last train leaves I think pretty much as soon as the game finishes, and for me to stay up there, it's just too expensive. So I would like to have gone, but nevertheless,
I was meant to go until they changed it.
Yeah, when it was a Saturday 3:00, and also it would have been St. Paddy's weekend that weekend as well. So
yeah, so that would have been a messy weekend.
That would have been. The rest of this week, I'm not sure what we're doing on Thursday.
I think there'll be a preview on Thursday. TACT-EAGLE again on Friday. So, as we said, we're double dipping.
You lucky people, yeah. So we'll do TACT-EAGLE 7:30 again on Friday. Be good. Hang on, Earth saying we're getting red cards according to. Oh, come on, we got to lose some games in this season.
No, Earth. This is my second yellow. It can't be a straight red. Dan has to get a yellow first before he can get a red. Come on, let's be real. Let's be fair. This is my second yellow.
And yeah, and I agree. Their midfield is fantastic, and Isak is firing. So we need to have them to have an off day. Is there anything else to say, JC?
Up the Palace.
Up the Palace. Oh. Awkward.
You should play the outro.
Where's the outro? There's the